Okay, I don't know why all of a sudden we go live and I hear bunk bunk that Amazon has made a delivery, but evidently I have a delivery out front. So if you hear something bumping around, that's what it is. And I have to go, hey, welcome to Ice Cream Queens. We have another amazing show for you. Please bear with me. I sound awful or possibly kind of like Kathleen Turner. Not really sure. This is very different sounding for me, but just so you know, I feel kind of nah. All right, so let's bring in Lauren and Magda.
I'm over here like, bring me in, coach. Bring me in. Okay, so you were just talking about the boom boom and the Amazon delivery. How creepy would it be for like a jump scare or a in a movie if someone was like doing this to have in a podcast, there was a window behind them and you see someone like walking past the window as they're talking on the podcast and doing that. And it's one of those like buildups where, it's the Amazon delivery guy. Okay. But then like again, later you can call back to that anyway. That's cool.
Well, I mean, okay, so I don't, so we have a note on our door because we don't want our Amazon packages to be left right in plain view. And so they are put them behind the furniture on the front porch, which is right there by my daughter's bedroom window. And occasionally she hears them like knocking around and stuff like that. So yeah, I can see where that could definitely be a horrifying thing. Hello, Aubrey. Aubrey says, evening, ladies. Hope you ladies are doing wonderful.
All right.
So I also want to take a moment and just say we have some things that are going to be a little bit different for us for the upcoming holiday season. So we have a couple of episodes that are going to fall on holiday. I think we have an episode that's supposed to fall on Christmas and then New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. So we will not be live. So our next show is going to be the second week of January. So just kind of keep an eye out for that because we know that that's coming. So we will probably be off a little while. Also, we have a disclaimer because it's our show, and there has to be a disclaimer. Magda, it's been a moment, and I sound horrible.
Warning, this show may contain strong language or disturbing topics, which may be unsuitable for children, and unusual humor, which may be unsuitable for adults.
Always. Our humor is pretty much unsuitable for just about everybody.
But at least it requires... So
yeah, I mean, if it is a reference to pot pies in association with a mass murder, yeah, it happens. Those things happen. Don't ask us a lot of questions.
Turkey pot pies. If you've been with us that long to know the pot pies reference, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. It happens. We deal with darker topics a lot of times as we find. Yeah. Sometimes there are some things that you have to have an element of reverence with and seriousness with, but there are some things that something pops up and you just can't help but just crack up over it. And that was definitely one of those. So we have a really cool, amazing guest joining us tonight. His name is Josh Mason. He is the owner and operator of Mason Studios. And if we could go ahead and bring him in.
What's up? How's it going, y'all?
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank y'all so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here.
We love the idea. So do me a favor, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and just kind of overall, who are you? Who are you, Josh?
How'd you get
here? Who am I? So my name is Josh Mason. I am the owner and founder of Mason Studios, and I've been making independent films since I was about 16 years old. And I'm 33 now, so if that tells you how long I've been making movies, it's been a while. So I've been doing that a long time. It started with me making like class projects in high school, and then that evolved once I got into college and beyond college into making actual independent films, which then got me into filming cosplay music videos at conventions, which then gave me the idea to kind of do fan films and things, utilizing a lot of the cosplayers at the various Comic-Cons. And that's where I think I've gotten most of my notoriety is with the various fan films I've done based on different video games and things like that. So, just love making movies, love everything about movies. I've, been a movie buff my whole life, even back way before I was making films. That's me. That's my thing. I'm a movie guy through and through.
That's awesome. Actually, and one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you in, because we just kind of touched on this briefly, but a great independent film, and I'm assuming it's an independent film company. I recently had the opportunity to go see G-1, the new Godzilla movie. And
Phenomenal.
oh my gosh. I don't know if Magda and Lauren, I don't know if either of you are Godzilla fans.
Oh my! I look forward to seeing it. I just haven't seen it yet. So
It's gorgeous. It is probably one of the best, if not the best, Godzilla movie I have seen in a long time. And honestly, I want to say, maybe short of something like Oppenheimer, it's probably the best movie I've seen all year. So I mean,
Wow.
it was gorgeous.
Yeah,
I've
Great
never,
story.
I would take it even a step further. I actually liked it even better than Oppenheimer. I thought it was the
Really?
best movie of the year.
wow.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very, very good.
I might
yeah.
have to go see that. I've never seen a whole one of those through, not a single one. I think Power Rangers as a child ruined me because I see something like that, and every time all I can think is like dude in like a wannabe fursuit, but it's made out of cardboard, obviously stomping through like a Lego house city or something. Anyway, that's what my brain goes to.
It is absolutely nothing like you would expect. I mean, even if you've seen previous Godzilla movies, especially the US based ones, it is nothing like what you would expect. I mean, first and foremost, he's not the good guy, which is something that he's been made into with the US movies, is they kind of made him almost into a good guy. But it's beautifully done. There's a great story that underlays everything. And at some point, I think I actually even was getting a little bit teary at one point, but it's
Oh.
beautifully shot. It's set in the 1940s, and beautifully, just the costuming, everything about it was amazing. It is subtitled, so just be prepared.
Yeah, there's
You're gonna do a little
definitely
bit of-
some reading involved with
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I agree completely. I thought cinematography was phenomenal. I thought the directing, the writing, the characters, just everything about it, I thought was excellent. And they treated Godzilla, again, like you said, he is the bad guy, but they treated him like a force of nature, which is what he really was originally intended to be in the original Godzilla movie, way back in the day, the very first black and white film. And so they kind of took it back to its roots and did that again. And I think that was the right move, because he felt like it was like a hurricane or some kind of natural disaster. And it was the first Godzilla movie I've ever seen where I was genuinely scared of Godzilla. Like from the first scene he shows up in, I was actually terrified. I remember even kind of sitting back in my seat like, oh, this is kind of intense. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, I don't know that it's one I would even, take the really little kids to see, because I'm a grown man and it kind of scared me a little bit. So just something to be aware of.
That opening sequence with him is very much out of very similar to the T-Rex scenes in Jurassic Park.
Yes,
So if
100%.
yeah, so if you had kids that were a little intimidated by a T-Rex chomping down on people, I mean, I didn't find it to be gory at all, but it was very intense and it was a bit frightening. So, but that was my thoughts on it. So.
Y'all's
Awesome.
descriptions just made me want to take my child now.
Well, your child is a little
loved
different.
Her first movie was Jurassic Park during like all of the shutdown when they were only playing old movies in the theater and you had to rent out the entire theater. We were all going like at each other's throats in the house. And so for someone's birthday, we rented out a whole theater. It was just everyone who had been in the house quarantining. And we watched Jurassic Park, and it was our youngest's first one. And oh my gosh, she loved it. So now I'm gonna have to take her to see that.
Raising them right, Jurassic Park is one of the best movies ever made. So.
Well, Josh, you will love this. Her daughter, how old is your daughter? Can I ask?
Almost 6, end of this month.
Has already been to Texas Frightmare.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Talk about she is definitely raising her right. So, Lauren, do you want to tell people how they can watch us and leave comments and stuff like that?
Yeah, hi y'all. We are on YouTube and we are also live on Facebook. You can comment on either and they'll go boop up at the bottom and we can react to your comments live just as you
Like our friend.
someone say pineapple. I don't know. Someone say undercover pineapple. Shout out to Stephanie Harlow and Derek Lavasser on that one. You could tell what
Well, I just saw that our
podcasters I
friend-
listen to.
Yeah, I just saw that our friend Brian Huff just commented and said
Huff.
hello.
He said,
Yeah,
"What's
Brian
up,
Huff.
guys?" See,
Hello
right
there.
there, perfect example. So yeah,
Example.
watch us live on either of those places. And if you don't feel like watching us live and you want to listen to it later, we will also be on Spotify and a couple other places, just the general ones.
And before we get rolling, we, as always, have a audience participation question. Sometimes we get to them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get to them at the end of the show, but we do have one. Have you ever worked on an independent film? And if you have, please name the film and let us know where we can watch it. If you leave those comments if you leave that answer in the comment, we'll read them throughout the show. So, because we want to hear what our fans and our people are doing. So, we have a couple of questions prepared for you, Josh. So let's just kind of, we kind of sat down and we've got all
dive
this.
in.
Let's dive in. So first of all, welcome, and let's so let's start off with a little bit about you. 1 second. I'm still recovering. So, who are you? Who's your family? Where do you live? And when you're not making films, what do you do?
Yeah. So I live in Covington, Tennessee. So about a little town, about 45 minutes north of Memphis. So do a lot of work with a lot of the cosplayers and stuff in the Memphis community, as well as a lot of the film people in the Memphis film community and things like that. So I'm kind of in that area, in West Tennessee. And then when I'm not making movies, I am my boring day job nobody wants to hear about is I am the marketing director for Huffman Mason, a law firm that's located here in Covington, Tennessee. And I do all the marketing work for my brother, who is known as the Kickin' Lawyer. And we actually shoot his podcast out of the studio I'm in right now. So that's my boring day job nobody wants to hear about. And then I also do my own marketing business on the side. I run Masonite Digital Marketing, which kind of evolved out of me doing the filmmaking stuff because I found out, I picked up all these skills making these movies over the years, and not only the skills of the video production side of it, but also having to market my own independent films, that I realized I could take a lot of those marketing skills and, other business owners and other entrepreneurs and people could use those skills that I picked up, to promote and market their own businesses and things. So now I run Masonite Digital Marketing, and we do everything from video production as far as commercials. We do web design, graphic design, SEO, just, any type of digital marketing service that business owners might need. And it's not just business owners. We also, provide those services to influencers. So I've done work for like TikTokers and YouTubers and, actors, actresses, those sort of folks. So that's kind of what I do on my day job. So do the marketing stuff for the law firm, do marketing for clients. And when I'm not doing all that, I'm usually either in the gym working out or watching movies. So that's my boring day.
Boring day. I'm over here like, that sounds amazing.
I know. No, I agree. It sounds just the ability to do something different and get to interact with different people every day it sounds like a blast. So it's one of the things that I like about my day job that we're not going to mention. So so we know that you started making movies when you were 16 years old, but when and how did you first get involved in independent filmmaking? What kind of brought this on?
So I owe a lot to one of my English teachers from high school. My English teacher, my freshman year of high school, her name was Miss Paige Wormuth. Sadly, she has passed away, but she was great lady. I had lots of respect for her. But there was one, you have those moments in life where your life kind of could go off one direction or it can go off another direction, all based on a yes or no question. And I remember we were doing a project on To Kill a Mockingbird, and I just went up and asked her because I had just recently got a little Sony Handycam, and my brother had a real crappy editing program that was not good, but got the job done. And I knew I could use that. And I was thinking I could put together a little To Kill a Mockingbird movie. So I just asked the teacher, I said, could I make a video project on the book instead of all the other projects that were options? And she could have told me no, but thankfully she did not. And she said yes. And so I made that very first video, very first short film I ever made was To Kill a Mockingbird. And then the rest was history because the kids in the class all loved it, thought it was great. And so for the rest of my high school career, I was every class project that came up, I was making a video out of.
Oh, that's
And,
amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then the coolest thing was because that was my freshman year. So each time I went up to the next grade level, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever English teacher I was going to have for that year knew that I was coming into her class. And so she would know ahead of time, oh, this is the movie guy. I'm going to make sure he makes movies so it was like the teachers actually looked forward to having me in their class because they knew I was going to make videos out of whatever books were assigned to us. So that's kind of how I got started in it. And then after I got out of high school, I realized, one, not only did I feel like I was pretty good at it and had picked up the skill set, but I really genuinely was passionate about it and loved it. And I was like, I got to keep doing this. I was like, all I've been doing with it so far has been class projects, but I want to make like big movies and stuff. So from there, it kind of evolved into doing like YouTube videos and YouTube shorts and that sort of thing. And over time, I started making my own original independent films. And then, like I said, that grew into making the fan films and all that. And so now it's really taken off. And I mean, we've gotten recognition on, some of the film projects from some pretty notoriable people like Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, who are the developers and publishers of the Tomb Raider video games, actually gave us recognition for our Tomb Raider fan films. So that
cool.
that was really awesome. So that was a big deal, and then I've gotten to work with just some really cool people through both the film studio as well as doing digital marketing. So I got to do some video production and things for hip hop artist Nelly. And then there's been, again, several actors and actresses and influencers, TikTokers and things that I've gotten to produce stuff for. So I'm just very appreciative of, all the networking I get to do and all the cool people I get to hang out with. And it's been a blast. And it's all, again, thanks to that English teacher that told me I could make a To Kill a Mockingbird video way back in the day.
So I have a question hopping off of the younger years, the high school days.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to try and find actors to be all of these roles and stuff? Like, was it like, Chad, come here, I need you to die? Or like, no, just let Steve die, you like stab you and die just for a second.
That's basically how it still goes today. I mean, that's how I get them. So you just described the exact question I use when I approach them. Like, hey, you want to come die in a movie?
If you ever need, so call me,
hey,
man.
I got you. Next film project.
You can murder me. That's cool.
No, the early films, especially the class projects, I actually started using mostly my family in the early days. In high school and stuff, I would use, a lot of family, and then sometimes I would grab like some of my classmates or friends from school and things like that. And that's sort of originally where Mason Studios, the name, came from. It wasn't just the fact that my last name was Mason. It's because the early projects I made utilized a lot of my family members. And so it was sort of like the Mason family. And so that's kind of where that originated from. Now everybody thinks of it as, oh, it's Josh Mason, so his last name's Mason. That's why it's Mason Studios. But again, originally it was because I just used my family so much. But then after high school, I started using a lot more friends. And then from there, it evolved into using more professional actors and actresses, or at least semi-professional actors and actresses. And so now it's kind of just a mishmash, I make films now with a lot of what I call professional actors and actresses, but a lot of them I've been working with for so long that they become friends of mine. So they're both professional actors as well as my friends. So it's like when people ask me, who do you have in your movies? I'm like, well, I have my friends, but they also just happen to be, really good actors and actresses. So it's kind of evolved. Now we're dealing with a lot more pros than we were in the early days of the studio.
So I'm curious also, and so have you ever gone back now? You talk about you created this originally when you're 16 years old, and now you're in your 30s. Have you gone back now and looked at that first film that you created and just critiqued yourself? What are your thoughts on it? I mean, I'm just curious because I know when I go back and I look at design projects that I've done, I'm just like, that's hideous. I'm like, what was I thinking?
Oh no, I'm my own biggest critic, 1,000%. And I mean, I feel that way just with films I made just this last year. I watch them and I'm like, I try not to watch them because I am my own biggest critic and I see everything that I could have done better, or every little flaw, or, oh, this shot has, a bottle in the background of it that somebody should have moved. It's like little stuff people don't even notice, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, it ruins the whole movie. But no, I have gone back and watched like my very first That To Kill a Mockingbird video, and it's terrible. It's not good at all. That's why none of that early stuff. If you go to the YouTube channel, it's Mason Studios, by the way, on YouTube. All it is just my more recent stuff from like the past, I don't know, 7 years or so. Anything from prior to 7 years has either been set to private or is like archived away somewhere where hopefully nobody will ever see it. But the reality is, like I said, the studio's been around for far longer than our oldest YouTube video. But again, it's because I just kind of, I kind of have some conflict about hiding some of the older stuff, because on the one hand, when I have new people discover the studio or discover the YouTube channel, you want them to see the best stuff that we put out, the best content. So you want them to see that latest, greatest, newest stuff that really shows off, what we're capable of. But on the other hand, by having access to some of that original stuff, it allows people to see the huge gap in quality that there is there, because it is night and day. Like you can tell when you watch that original To Kill a Mockingbird movie that's some high school kid that had no clue what he was doing and had crappy equipment and no money and all that. And then when you watch like our most recent film, we did the Mario Brothers fan film just this past year. And
Loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, hey, there it is. It's a poster. Yeah. Everybody really enjoyed it. So, but it's leagues, I think, leagues better than the stuff I was doing in the early days.
I just wonder how many of your old teachers like kept a copy of, and every year after you left with, all right, To Kill a Mockingbird. I know 12 years ago.
I know for a fact that they did do that. I had eyewitnesses. So my nephews and nieces were roughly 8 to 10 years behind me in age. Because I became an uncle really young. I was an uncle at like 8 years old. And so anyway, they went through and had like a lot of the same teachers that I had as they were going through school. And they would come home and they would tell me, they'd be like, Uncle Josh, our teacher showed us your old movie in class today. And I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So they for sure did that for years and years. I'm sure there's still, hundreds of old Mason Studios DVDs floating around in classrooms somewhere.
That's amazing.
That's hilarious. So when you start working on a film, whether it's a fan film or original creation, from conception to release, what does that process look like? How long does it normally take you, and what's the prep like?
Oh, it's far more to it now than there used to be. I used to not put, and you can tell, I think, when you watch the movies, I used to not put as much time into pre-production, and I would kind of just have an idea for a movie or, whatever, write a script up real quick. And then we would just like hit the ground running, go film it. And, and I would spend a good amount of time filming and a good amount of time on post-production, but I just wasn't really doing enough prep. And this goes back probably 7 years ago plus when I was doing projects. And then roughly around, 6-7 years ago, I started looking at the films and I was like, I really feel like I could do a lot better if I would do, put more effort into the pre-production side of it. So now it is a lengthy pre-production process. Like we've been planning this third Tomb Raider film. This is the film we're currently shooting that we just shot part of it today. And it's been probably 2 to 3 years just of planning from, inception of, I originally had the idea, I want to do a third Tomb Raider and here's some of the things I would like to do in it, to then we've been working on the script for probably the past 6 months. It's been going through various revisions. We're up to like a 5th or 6th draft now. And so that's been, the past 6 months, we've really been deep into the script. And then just today we started principal photography. We'll be doing shoots all through Q1 of next year to finish out the rest of filming. And then it's going to take all of Q2 to do all the post-production. And my hope is to have that movie out by like May or June of next year. So they take a while, and it's because they've grown so much. There's a lot more to them. There's a lot more effects work that has to be done. I spend a lot more time on color grading and the post-production process. And so it's a bad way to put it, but in the early days, a lot of my movies would be thrown together just because I was trying to create content and just get content out there. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. How do I make the best film possible? How do I make something that people are genuinely going to be entertained by and that is really a high quality product rather than, let's just make a movie just to make a movie. You know, now it's like, let's make a movie to entertain people. And so
Mm.
that's my main focus when I go approach any project now.
By the way, I just want to do a quick shout out. You have the best Laura Croft ever.
Thank you.
Oh
I think that's
Yeah.
more ode to Sarah than it is to me, though.
Oh, she is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she's
there
phenomenal.
she is. There she is.
There she is,
She
Tomb Raider.
looks the part. She acts the part. I mean, she is perfect for it. I absolutely adore her. So one of my questions actually was similar to Tim Burton. I noticed that you tend to use the same actors, and I know that you kind of touched on this briefly. So when you start casting, what are you looking for? And there's this whole thing comes up. You know, you have Tim Burton who leans into
Mhm.
people like Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, and those are his go-to actors and actresses. But we find that there is a logic behind that. So in your opinion, what is the logic? Why do directors have a tendency to lean into that same pool of actors so often?
I think I can't speak for a lot of other directors, but I think for me anyway, it's not even necessarily as much to do with talent, although that obviously plays a large role. And when you want to work with different actors and actresses, because obviously you want them to be talented, you want them to know their lines and be good at delivery and all those sorts of things. That's all critical. But for me, it has more to do with the how little stress they cause me throughout making the film. How professional is the actor or actress?
Oh,
You know,
That's
so
fun.
that's almost more important to me than the actual talent side of it. And I think most directors, if you ask them, they would probably agree. They would much rather work with an actor or actress that is not going to give them a hard time and not going to, you know, cause tons of unnecessary drama on set. You know, and is going to deliver a good performance and everything, than, you know, somebody who's a phenomenal Academy Award winning actor or actress, but is going to want their bowl of exclusively green M&Ms. The AC is going to be exclusively set to 70 degrees in the trailer and that
Oh
sort
my
of thing.
gosh.
You know, so that's what's important to me. And that's why I think I use a lot of the same actors and actresses over and over again, is because I've been doing it for so long now, and I've got to work with so many different people over these hundreds of different film projects that we've done, that I've kind of learned the people that I really enjoy working with. And, you know, the most important part of making any movie is having fun while you're making it. And I just have a blast with the group of people that I make films with now. You know, we've got Sarah and Dylan, and it's just this awesome group. And so I'm like, yeah, these are the people that I enjoy working with. They don't cause any problems. We have a ton of fun while we're making the films. And so naturally, each time I make a movie, even when we're going into the script writing phase, it's like I write a lot of the roles with the different actors and actresses already in mind of who I'm going to bring back and utilize again. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't work with new people. We do occasionally bring in, you know, new actors and actresses, but I definitely have my people that I'm comfortable with, put it that way.
No, we totally understand the need to have low maintenance, low drama. We totally understand that.
Sorry.
I'm not looking at you, Lauren. No, I'm just,
I'm not
no,
looking
Lauren,
for you either,
Lauren,
Teal.
I know,
Yeah.
Lauren is probably the most low maintenance, low drama person I have ever encountered.
Aw.
With. We have had some. No, honestly,
Oh, that's
but
perfect. We got to
had-
have her in a Mason Studios movie then.
she's a phenomenal actress too. Just so you know,
Oh,
Awesome.
I'm not like
Thank
just gonna
you.
like toot her horn for a little while, but she's
You can
yeah,
toot
and a
my horn whenever
cosplayer.
you want, DL.
True.
And people wonder
Actually-
why. Okay, never mind. We're not
People
gonna
wonder
go
why
there.
everyone
Actually-
thinks that we're in a relationship. Sorry, Magda,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
talking.
sorry, what?
Shut up, Lauren.
Curious about more behind the scenes sort of experiences that you've had. Things like cast is lovely, but I'm curious about crew. Myself, I'm a seamstress, and I have actually done work before doing costumes for independent films. So there's that. And I'm curious, do you work with the same? Do you have the same situation with your crew, your camera people, your gaffers, your costumes, and so on and so forth? Do you have the same group, the same as you do with your actors and actresses?
Yeah, so it's mostly the same situation. It's a lot of the same people that I've just met over the years that I found to be professional and that I enjoyed working with, and so I bring a lot of the same ones back. There's one individual who I started working with him on a YouTube short probably 6-7 years ago. And this is just an example of like my mindset, I guess, whenever I'm working with somebody and I pick up on the things that they do, that means that's somebody I want to keep working with. And it was a situation where we were filming a shot and there was a door that was just in the way of the shot. And there was no way to really get it out of the way of the shot. Like if we closed it, it was in the way. If it was open, it was in the way, because you had complicated situation, but just the way the characters were moving in the shot, this door just really was in the way, whether it was open or closed. Long story short. So I just mentioned it offhand, not telling anybody, hey, move the door or do anything with it. I was just mentioning, oh man, that door, it's a shame. It's really in the way of the shot. And then I'll read Daryl's comment in a minute. I know he was saying something smart aleck, I'm sure.
I said Josh is suddenly realizing he needs a Scottish character in a movie.
He needs a Scottish. Hey, that's true. Yeah, there you go. I just felt like he was probably making fun of me in some way.
No, we can't stop talking about Magda's beautiful voice.
No, we cannot.
Like ever.
But anyway, so I was talking about this door, and then I hear a drill going off, and I look around, and this guy who had just been there to help out with lighting was literally taking the door off the hinges and was moving it aside. And I was like, and I didn't tell him to do it. He just did it because I offhand mentioned that it was in the way of the shot. And so I brought him along for, the majority of the film shoots that I did, just because he was very reliable. And he was one of those people that if I needed anything, even if it was something random like a kitchen sink, he would just procure it out of his magic like Santa bag. And so those, those are the types of people you want to have on your cast and your crew. Because they're the ones that I find to be the most helpful. Because when you're directing a project like this, it's the definition of multitasking. Because you've got so many different things you got to keep up with. So it's very critical to have other people there to handle all the things that you're forgetting or that you don't have time to handle. So, it's important to have somebody there just to move equipment around or move lighting around or put tape down. The shoot we did today, Sarah's husband, I have to change because they just got married. I almost said boyfriend. Yeah. So I forget. It's like, oh, they're married now. So Sarah's husband was there and he was running around putting tape down on the floor for us and things, and then helping me move the light around and all that. So yeah, it's very important to have good people there for your crew as well.
They're your favorite burners.
That's right.
You're cooking on the stove, and all of the other burners would get the same job done, but then there's that one, and it's right up front and on the right-hand side. And that's the one you're going to go with. They're your favorite burners.
That's right, 100%.
Okay, so I know personally you are a huge John Carpenter fan. And even had the opportunity to meet him very recently.
That's right.
Is there a director out there that has worked in independent films, whether they started in independent films or they're doing it now, that you would like to work with or study under?
Oh, that's an easy answer. Anybody that knows me will know immediately what my answer is going to be. And the people that don't know me are probably be surprised by the answer, because a lot of people don't like this director. But my favorite director of all time is Michael Bay. I love me some good summer blockbuster explosions, and I'm definitely not your typical independent filmmaker. I even mentioned today when we were shooting the scene that a lot of the independent filmmakers, I feel like, especially around here, they look at films as art first and entertainment second, whereas I've always viewed it as the inverse of that. Which is a very unusual viewpoint, I feel like, for an independent filmmaker. I see it as entertainment first, art second, because when I go to a movie, I want to go to be entertained and for the escapism and that sort of thing. So not that there's anything wrong with the film being artistic or that it shouldn't be. That's where my priorities have always been. And I feel like that's how Michael Bay is when he makes movies. He's all about the action and the visuals, and it almost feels like a theme park ride in some ways more than a movie. And so he's the one that I attempt anyway to replicate the most when I'm making my film projects, which obviously can be difficult when you're dealing with limited budgets, and he's got, multi-millions of dollars that he's able to make his movies with. But he's by far my favorite director. And I get the criticisms people give him, but I feel like the majority of the criticisms he gets has to do more with the storyline in a lot of his movies. And I think the one thing I'd like to remind people of is that most of those films he did not write. He was the director. And so, it's you can't harp on the guy for storylines when he didn't write it. But that first Transformers movie, I think I love it. I love everything about it. Love the cars, love the music, love the cinematography. I just think that, Transformers 2007 is it's as perfect a movie as you can get, in my opinion. So yeah, if I could just bring Michael Bay his coffee, I would be happy.
Here, Mr. Bay, have your coffee.
That's right.
So I'm just kind of curious. You mentioned that specifically that he did not write the movies. Do you ever go to other writers potentially to help you out with your storylines?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I used to not. Everything up to probably, I would say, even 2 to 3 years ago. I wrote 99% of my own scripts, and not because I really wanted to. It was more out of just necessity. I don't consider myself a writer. I'm a director first. I would even consider myself a cinematographer and editor before I would consider myself a writer. But I just wrote because I honestly didn't really have anybody else to, and I would have all these different ideas of things I wanted to put into a movie. And the only way I could do that in time together would be if I wrote the script. So I would just write pretty much everything. And then about 3 years ago or so, I met a really good buddy of mine named Raymond. I'd already known him prior to this, but it was the first time I kind of had approached him about possibly writing a movie for me, because we would have all these conversations about movies, and I knew he was a big film geek like myself. And he had already kind of told me some different ideas he had for films and things. And so he wrote the majority of the best parts of the recent Super Mario Brothers Back in the Game film that we did. And I think that he is the one who gets pretty much sole credit for how funny that movie is. All the best jokes and everything he came up with. And so we've kind of got a really good directing relationship now, where he writes a lot of the stuff. And then this Tomb Raider 3 film that we're currently filming, not only did I bring him in to help write it, but I brought in Sarah because she's a published author. And so I had her do some of the writing, and then we kind of all worked together on the script. So now I'm very open to having other writers, because one, they're better at writing than I am. But also I think it's better to have, all these different ideas from these different sets of eyes when they read the script, as opposed to just mine. Because prior, not only would I just write the scripts, a lot of times I wouldn't even let other people read them or, anything beforehand. And now I'm all about like, hey, what's wrong with this? Like, make this better, So I still do a good bit of writing, but I'm much happier having someone else hand me a script and then letting me go off and direct that. I just think that that's a more enjoyable process,
So when you start writing and you start creating and you have an idea to come out, because we know that you've dealt with a lot of different franchises and fan films in addition to original works. I know some of your fan films have been Resident Evil, obviously Mario Brothers and Lara Croft, that you've done Star Wars, Cowboy Bebop, which evidently Lauren fell in love with your version.
Oh, awesome.
Zelda. I mean, there's been tons. You also have originals such as the No More Sorrow, Edge of Sorrow franchises. Are there other franchises that you would like to tackle in the future? And where do you get the ideas to do these movies? Where does the inspiration come from?
So it's one of two places. Sometimes it's either something I'm genuinely a fan of, like Legend of Zelda, Mario Brothers, Star Wars. I'm a huge fan of all those properties. So those are just kind of natural fits for me, because I'm like one of the biggest Zelda nerds on the planet. I love that video game series. There it is. That's the poster. So that's kind of I thought that was a natural fit for me. But then others are based off some of the actors or actresses I may have on hand. So the Tomb Raider idea kind of came from knowing Sarah and knowing she was a Lara Croft cosplayer. So even though I was a fan of the video games, I was never just like a massive mega Tomb Raider fan, but I was like, it's like Lara Croft stepped out of the video game. Like, she's the perfect Lara Croft. So it just seemed like a natural fit to go do a Tomb Raider fan film. And then thankfully that was a huge hit, so we made a couple more of them. And then there's others like Cowboy Bebop. I just was the producer on that. And so I'm not actually a Cowboy Bebop or even an anime fan really at all. Like, I don't dislike anime. It's not my genre. It's not the thing that I'm really exposed to a whole lot. So I knew very little about it. But my buddy Ryan McCrory was the director on that, and he's the one that came to him and was like, "Hey, I want to make this Cowboy Bebop, fan film, and I would like you to produce it." And then the deal we kind of worked out was, okay, I'll produce it, and then you direct, and then the deal is it gets to be on my YouTube channel, which he actually wanted because he knew I had the higher subscriber count. Therefore, it would be more eyes on the movie than if he was to put it on his own YouTube channel. So we worked out the deal where he did those two Cowboy Bebop films. And then I thought the benefit to me and all that was I get this whole new audience of anime fans that previously had never been exposed to any of my stuff. And so maybe they'll come to the channel, watch the Cowboy Bebop fan films, and then see, oh, well, what's this Zelda thing, or what's this Tomb Raider? And it kind of be like a lightning rod to draw more people in to watch all the other stuff. But honestly, the biggest thing that I think would shock a lot of people is I much prefer doing original stuff all over fan films. One of the main reasons we do the fan films so much is because people watch them way more than they watch the original stuff. You know, if they're scrolling through and they see No More Sorrow, they're like, I don't know what that is. And they keep scrolling. But if they see Tomb Raider or they see Mario Brothers, they stop and they click on it because they're aware of there's brand recognition, And so these movies, they take so much time and effort, and there's so much work that goes into them. It is a shame when you're making the original projects that you put so much time, effort, and work into them for then nobody to really watch them. And so it's easier to make a fan film because you're thinking the whole time you're making it, you're like, well, we're putting all this work in, but at least we know when we put it out at the end that people are going to watch it because of the brand recognition. Whereas you don't get that guarantee when you're making something original, because you don't know if anybody's you can make the best original film on the planet, but you can't force people to click on it or watch it or whatever. So I do prefer doing original projects. And there, to answer the question, there definitely are some franchises I would love to make some films and play in those worlds. I was just talking today about, I'm a huge Conan the Barbarian fan, and I collect the comics. I love the original movies. And so my dream project would probably be, if I could pick any movie and have $100 million to go off and just make whatever I wanted, I would like to make a R-rated Conan the Barbarian movie, and shoot it in a similar style to kind of how Zack Snyder shot 300, but make it seem like Frank Frazetta or Boris Vallejo artwork, but visually come to life. Where it's that type of artwork, but in motion. And I think that would just be a beautiful movie to get to make and have it, bloody and gory like the comics and the original books. And I would be like a kid in a candy shop if I got to watch it.
I think you just caught everybody's attention on the side panel over here when you said Boris Vallejo and Frank Frazetta. So I think we all kind of grew up in those, looking at those artwork and stuff. So
they're definitely my two favorite artists, like without a doubt.
Oh yeah. And I think actually, might have been Frank Frazetta actually did an X-Men. He did like a Women of X-Men. I can't remember one of the two did, but I think it might have been Frank Frazetta. So, which was incredible, absolutely incredible.
All of their work's really good.
I'm curious what your favorite thing that you've worked on has been, something that just meant the most to you, or just that you had the most fun with.
Probably part of me would want to initially just say Zelda, just because I am such a big fan of Zelda. However, we truly, and I'm not saying this because it was my most recent project, we truly had a blast making that new Mario Brothers movie, Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, back in the game. It was, every step of the way. I think you ask anybody that was involved on it, it was a blast. And you can watch the blooper reel. If you watch the whole movie and you wait to the end credits, we play a blooper reel at the end, and that's only like a quarter of the bloopers that we actually had making the movie. And I lost count how many times I was probably in tears from laughing so hard while we were filming it. Everybody was cracking jokes and in a good mood the whole time, and everybody was vibing. And I think you can tell when you watch the movie, there's an energy to it. Yeah, and you even feel it in the performances. Like I feel like Corey and Dylan, who play Mario and Luigi, you kind of get this vibe, and you feel like they're actually brothers. Like you don't feel like they're just two actors playing these characters. There's actual banter and stuff between them. So it's one of my only film projects out of everything I've made that I can truly watch, and I'm not judgmental and criticizing myself on. I can actually sit back and remove myself from it and enjoy it as a piece of entertainment, which I don't think I've ever been able to do with any of my own work. Most everything, like I said, I'm hypercritical of, or I see all the things I could do better, but I truly love that Mario movie that we just did. I think it's probably the best thing that we've ever done. Yeah. Well,
and honestly, I know quite a few of those guys that were in the film, and just knowing their response to it and how proud of what they did and what they created. I know that all of them were floating on air for a long time after that preview. after we saw that. So that was, and it really was. I have to admit, it was probably one of my favorites so far. As much as I love the Laura Croft stuff, that was probably my absolute favorite because it was funny. It was hilarious, and I
pulls
loved
you
it.
in.
Thank
It
you.
really did. I loved that one.
Yeah, I think pacing, everything was really good. And again, I owe it so much of it to Raymond, who helped me write the script. I mean, he was the guy that I would be like, hey, here's some of the things I'd like to do. And then he would just infuse it with all these jokes. And I have tons of text messages of me and him going back and forth of all these ideas and jokes that he would suggest. And I'd be like, that's hilarious. That's going in. Then he'd send me another text. I'd be like, that's hilarious. That's going in the movie. And then before you know it, I'm like, this whole movie is just a giant comedy, whether we intended for it to be or not, you know. So I owe a lot to Raymond. And then, of course, I owe so much to the cast because their deliveries and performances and everything, it was sort of like a perfect storm. And it's one of those things that, you know, I don't know. It's scary because we've talked about how much fun we would have making a sequel, but I'm also kind of intimidated at the idea of trying to follow it up because I'm like, how do we do that again? You know, can we replicate that magic a second time? So, you know, we'll see. Maybe we'll do a sequel.
So you have mentioned that you do use a lot of cosplayers, and I can't remember if there was a conversation that we had pre-show or during the show itself, but you do use a lot of cosplayers. And I mean, first and foremost, going into it, you know that they're going to have the wardrobe for. So how do you find that acting wise that they are? Do you find it easier to work with a cosplay? Because I know cosplay is one of those things that a lot of people, they put on the costume, but they forget the play aspect of it. They can't embody the character. And then you have those who really, really do. So do you find that it's easier to work with cosplayers versus actors, or I'm just curious on that?
Yeah, it varies person to person, I would say. But for the most part, I think that the majority of the cosplayers I've worked with have been, in many cases, better actors and actresses than the quote unquote just actors. You know, because think about it, a lot of the cosplayers have been going to cons in some cases for years and have been playing these different characters for years and kind of practicing. So it's almost like in some instances they were prepping for the movie role for years ahead of time without even realizing that they were. And so then when you have somebody like Sarah who shows up to film as Laura Croft in Tomb Raider, she's already been playing Laura Croft for years prior to that. And so it's just much more natural for her to step into that character than if, you know, we just cast some, you know, random, you know, maybe professional actress, but it may be an actress who isn't familiar with the character. And now she has to learn who the character is, how to do the accent, all these sorts of things. And so, yeah, there's been several instances where the cosplayers were actually better to work with than the actors and actresses, which may be why I keep, you know, casting them in movies over and over again.
Well, if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because if someone's cosplaying a character, it's most likely because they are like really passionate about that character. They know enough about that. I don't know about y'all, but whenever I'm choosing a character to cosplay, I do a lot of homework just on like the personality, not just like what kind of hat do they wear and what color are their socks. A lot of the personality and the history to kind of bring that character to life. So if they're that passionate and they know so much about this character already, it kind of makes sense that, well, yeah, they'd step right into the role, because not only have they been doing it for so long, but they've loved this character probably for years, even before that. And I think we had a comment down here. Sorry, I was talking over it. What did that say?
I think our friend Huff Photo was commenting.
I love photographing cosplayers when they really get into character. It translates so well. And we love it too, Huff.
And shout out to Huff Photo. He's a super talented photographer. We had him at the Covington Comic-Con this past year, and he does incredible work with the cosplay community. So very, very talented guy. Highly recommend him.
Yeah, we know this for a fact. And knowing that you do Resident Evil films, it has been brought to my attention. There's a photo loaded. Just keep in mind that if you want to do another Resident Evil film, that we happen to know.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Yeah, we. I
thought it was going to be one of the Huff ones. My bad.
Speaking of Huff,
yeah, sorry about that, Huff. But no, we shoot with him. That was actually Toy Robot who did that one, and that was on site at a con, and that was a lot of fun. But no, I think that I have even pitched another. I have actually pitched an idea to you about Wendy and
like,
Bonnie.
I love you anyway.
Huff Honestly, Huff Photo is amazing, and there are not many photographers that I personally work with, but it is him. He is my go-to now, and
He's
I absolutely
amazing.
just
Yeah,
he is
he's super
absolutely
talented.
amazing.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask to take pictures of your feet whenever you're doing a shoot with him. So highly recommend.
And that has happened.
Yeah.
That has happened more than you know. It's so sad.
I want to point out I
Oh.
am not one of those filmmakers that films feet. Like I think Tarantino
Quentin.
is known for that, and
Thank
so
you.
yeah, I do not do that. Just want to throw that out there.
And,
I mean,
thank
come
you.
on,
Huff was
If you could have had
Huff was
Salma
just
Hayek's
shouting out the
feet.
toy robot, so he was just yeah. So yeah, we actually because I know Lauren was asking, she's like, can we pitch a film to him? Because we have, and I'm
Of
like,
course.
I've done it. I've already
Okay.
done it.
Of
Oh,
course.
Lauren,
I
your
was
turn. Your
joking
turn. You
about,
go.
I was joking about our serial killer
Mm.
cosplays. We do this weird mashup between mascots of restaurants and serial killers.
That's amazing.
I know it's
You know
kind of fun.
that's actually kind of in line a little bit with some of the recent independent films that have been firing up. Like they have the spoof of the Grinch, but it's called The Mean One. And
Yeah.
then
There was a
there's
Winnie
been
the
the
Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, the Blood and
Aye.
Honey. So it's almost similar to something like that, but I could see that already where you have like Wendy and Ronald McDonald and the Burger King, and they're all like murderous psychopaths. I mean, I would direct it
You-
100%. You know?
You could either do just
have
random
a
murderous
Colonel Sanders.
psychopaths, or if you do the math right, they actually mash up with already known like movie villains, like
Mhm.
Ronald McDonald and It. Switch
Oh,
up,
there you
up a
go.
little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Wendy with the striped outfit and Krueger. And it keeps going. We've sat and we've come up with a whole.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Speaking of Huff, this is a Huff picture. Okay.
Mm.
But yeah, we've sat and like mathed out exactly how it would be Michael Myers as the king for Burger
Yeah.
King.
Oh yeah, no, I would 100% direct that movie all day long. You know, I kind of on a horror kick now because I recently saw the Thanksgiving movie from Eli Roth, and I thought it was very, very good. It's like it's almost like a Halloween slasher movie, but it's set during Thanksgiving instead of Halloween. And anyway, I was pleasantly surprised because I went to the theater not knowing much about it and with low expectations, and then I was like, that was really well done. And the horror genre is the thing that I've done the least. Like I did the Resident Evil films, but they were more action movies than, you know, actual like really scary. So yeah, no, that might be something that I have to direct or have to look into.
I'll just sit back and narrate and make costumes for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually think that a lot of horror that leans into action, those have a tendency to be a lot of my favorites. So, I mean, and I think horror and action kind of go hand in hand because, I mean,
Oh
you
yeah.
can't, but speaking of indie films, you know, there are so many different franchises out there that either started as an indie film or they are you have Halloween, you have Terrifier, which is some of our favorites, Sling Blade, Creep, Donnie Darko, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Do you have a favorite indie franchise or dark indie film franchise or indie film?
Again, this is a surprising thing about me is I traditionally am not a huge fan of independent films, although I myself am an independent filmmaker, because again, I like so many, you know, I like the big Hollywood summer blockbuster, huge budget movies. And I try to emulate that when I'm making my own films. And so those are more what I you know, am geared toward when I'm watching movies. That being said, I would consider the original John Carpenter Halloween to be technically an independent film. I mean, it was made on a
Definitely
super low budget, you know, I know that we were just talking about Godzilla -1. Technically that's Toho, and it had some big name, you know, distributors here in North America. So you can't really qualify it, but it was very low budget. And, you know, it's a foreign film, so it's kind of a underdog that you wouldn't anticipate to do very well. So that's a solid movie. But yeah, other than that, I would say maybe, you know, I couldn't even speak to any horror, you know, independent films because I don't really watch that many of them. But I can think of other independent films that became really big, like Napoleon Dynamite, that, you know, is really, really good.
Yeah. I love that
That
movie
one is
so much.
That one's super fun to sit your children down and be like, all right, This is what we watched when I was
Yeah.
young, and just look at the expressions on their face the whole time where they're just like,
Yeah, somebody made the joke today while we were on set. Somehow we got on the topic of Ridley Scott's new Napoleon film, and somebody made the joke. I can't remember now who said it, but that they were upset that John Heder, who played Napoleon Dynamite, wasn't just in the role of Napoleon. And so it'd be like a weird mashup of the historical Napoleon, but he's played by Napoleon Dynamite. And I was like, actually, you know what? I might need to direct that movie. That might be my next YouTube short or something.
I just got a text from Daryl saying that was me. I knew.
Oh, that was
I'm
him.
like-
You're right.
I immediately was sitting
That
there
was him.
thinking, I'm like, that is such a Daryl comment if I've ever heard one. Oh my God, that is
Yeah,
such
that was a golden
Yeah.
idea. And the more I've thought about it since he said that earlier today, I'm like, you know what? That would be a really good like fake trailer, like a fake movie trailer or something, you know? I'm gonna take over all of Europe. Gosh. Yeah. I think it'd be great.
would be good.
Well, I believe that we are rapidly approaching the top of the hour.
Oh my gosh,
I just
that went
want
by
I know it goes by so fast anytime we get a really good guest, and it's like we get to the end of it and we're like, holy crap, it's been an hour already. But Lauren, Magda, did you have any additional questions? Anything that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, but like, right.
Can you hint at what you're doing next?
Sure. So after we wrap up this third Tomb Raider movie, I have big plans actually. I want to direct a feature-length original film that we're actually intending for theatrical distribution. So it's going to be called Cinematic Adventure. I've already kind of announced it, but we're even going to be doing a whole crowdfunding campaign for it. It's going to be the biggest budget film that I've ever made. And the short elevator pitch premise is that it takes place in a movie theater. And it's sort of like Night at the Museum, but instead of a museum, it's a movie theater. So instead of exhibits coming to life.
Oh
God, did he freeze?
Did he freeze? If you can hear us, you were frozen.
Oh no, hang on.
Oh no! Right pitch.
I know. Ah!
Okay.
Okay, well,
Oh.
I'm sure he's probably going to try and pop back in quickly.
Yeah.
If you had money to make, not a lot, but a bit of money to make a film, what would it be? Go. I
The
know. I
Nine
gave you a
Princes
lot
of
time to think
Amber.
about that.
The
what?
Nine Princes of Amber. It is the last new book series.
Oh, okay, cool. I have no idea what that. I'm gonna have to Google that one.
It's
Sorry. I'm not-
fantasy. Look for it. It's good.
Okay.
Oh, I think he's back. Hang on.
Am I back?
You're back.
Hey.
We lost you mid pitch.
Mid
It was
pitch.
such a good pitch.
I too.
But no, it's
Oh, you're
yeah,
laggy now, though. Heads up.
Am I lagging?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you're kidding me. It's going to be that night.
It's that night.
It's like we are honestly sitting here on bated
It's
breath,
so good.
waiting for
I
this
know.
pitch. Yeah.
Okay. Dang it. Okay, DL, what would your series or show, movie, whatever, what would it be?
I have no idea. I know that sounds kind of strange. I have absolutely no idea. I think he's back.
Am I lagging now? Am I lagging?
No, okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. So
Pitch.
quick pitch.
Yeah, so basically, it just follows an usher in a movie theater. Movie characters are all coming to life, and it's up to him to kind of save the day and restore order. But that's kind of just the quick rundown of what the movie
Love
is.
it.
And I think that it's pretty solid. I'm very passionate about it because I love movies. I love going to the movie theater and and I used to work at a movie theater. That was my first job. So a lot of it's kind of taken from those experiences. But yes. Question?
Sorry. Random movies that are like made up, supposed to be movies in your world, or like real movies you're going to use cosplayers as these characters.
Made up movie, similar
Okay.
to like Last Action Hero. So like the idea
Okay.
is that the theater will have so many auditoriums, say it's 16 auditoriums, and so there will be 16 different films playing that these different characters. Now, obviously, there will be characters on those films that are reminiscent of real movies. So we'll have like pirates. It would be like Pirates of the Mediterranean or some weird thing like that, which is obviously a riff on Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, they'll have dinosaurs running around, which obviously are like a take on Jurassic Park, but the movie will be called something else.
Gotta get like a
So-
really good horror something in there. That's
Oh,
like
100%. You know, we'll have our Michael Myers, Jason ripoff that will be roaming around. And there's a joke in the movie, it's already in the script, where this character is going around, and because he moves so slow, the real life characters just run around him. Like he's not a threat to anybody because they're just able to outrun him. He's like,
Oh, that's
it's the
hilarious.
whole movie villain. Don't worry about him. Just the whole thing, he's just walking slow, lumbering. Everybody just races around him.
So you have Tarantino, who actually made short films, really more of almost trailers to go with some of his things that were popping up in some of his movies. I think it was more so the Grindhouse films that he had like trailers in between. Is that something that you're looking to do with this, or?
Yeah, it's like you're still in the ideas, because like you already know all my plans for this movie.
sorry.
Yeah. So we have already discussed having like fake trailers for the fake movies that are within the movie.
Oh, that's
We get
amazing.
Similar to like Tropic Thunder or Grindhouse, that sort of thing. So
Can you please do something along the lines of where let's like flashy movie, and then all of a sudden there's just a girl and she's like, "Do you have issues with constipation?" Right.
100% we can do.
Okay, so we are at the top of the hour, and
Aw.
I hate to stop this conversation because I feel like this could go on, and we could talk about this forever because we are so into this now. It's like it is. We're like we have ideas. Let's bounce these off. Let's see what's going on. So if people would like to find you and follow you and watch your films, where can they find you?
So Mason Studios on YouTube, that's where you can find all the trailers for the movies themselves. And then, of course, Mason Studios on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. There's most social media. If you type in Mason Studios, you can find us. And then if anybody needs me for any digital marketing services, it's just masonitemarketing.com. And I'm happy to help you with, commercials, websites, whatever it is you may need for your business or brand.
I'm finding you on TikTok. I just followed you right
Lovely.
now.
Thank you.
Yeah, she is the queen of TikTok, so being friends with her is a good thing. So I will go ahead and comment here that our next show is scheduled to be on the 24th. So obviously we are not going to be live on December 24th because I think all of us are going to be celebrating with our family. So our next show is scheduled to be on the 14th of January. So please enjoy the break. If you do not see us in the meantime, please come back and visit us. And Josh, we loved having you. You were an absolute
Nice.
blast.
Thank y'all for
Like,
having me.
Wealth
It's
of
fun.
information. Yeah. We anytime. You're welcome to come back anytime you want. And honestly, at some point, I want to have your brother on as well. So I did
Oh,
his
yeah,
podcast
I'm sure we can
recently.
wrangle him up. Yeah.
Oh
100%.
yeah. And with that said, I am going to say pleasant screams, and we will see you next time. What?
Well,
I'm
What,
sorry.
Lauren? What?
You're all like, we love having you on. We'd love to have your brother on too. And I'm over here like, DL always kinky. Dang.